All right. Well, good afternoon. Hopefully, I won't put everyone to sleep today. We're going to be talking about AI, trust, and profit, which is kind of an interesting topic just by itself. What is AI trust, and what are some different ways that you can apply trust in AI to be profitable for your organization? So some of y'all were here last April when we talked about this. I think I talked to you earlier. There is a QR code I'll put up at the end for our YouTube channel, and we actually did record the last one that we did, so you're more than welcome to hop in and take a look at that. And that one was a slightly different topic than what we're going to talk about today. Without further ado, I'm Dan Morrison. I'm the founder and CEO of Morevolved. We have an organization that specializes in designing systems for business operations, and logistics is the main thing that we do. I have a master's degree in cybersecurity. I have a bachelor's degree in operations management, some other random certifications. I'm also a Lean Six Sigma black belt, which just means fancy way of saying I use math to improve processes. I'm a vCISO, which means I'm a Chief Information Security Officer for several clients that we have all over the United States that affect millions of people. I am also the Chief Operations Officer for the Global Council for Responsible AI, who is actually, they're in Austria today holding their summit, but I'm here with you all having this conversation because this is why we do what we do. For that is to make sure that everyone understands what responsible AI actually looks like. I've been in operational leadership for nearly 25 years across military, manufacturing, and digital transformation and cybersecurity. Digital transformation is the big thing that I did. And I'm one of the co-authors of the GRACE framework that I was in Davos in 2026, and we unveiled that at the World Economic Forum out there. So that's a little bit about me, and I try not to talk too much, but that's where my credibility comes from for being able to talk to you today about AI and those types of things. Back in April, I talked about the fact that 95% of AI initiatives are failing. So last August, MIT published a study that talks about that in particular. What's beginning to happen now in 2026 is trust is beginning to collapse in AI. How many people believe everything that AI says? Awesome. So for those of you who have not been here, I like to ask questions of the room. So feel free to interact, ask questions as we go through this. Otherwise, it gets really boring with me just sitting up here and talking about some of this stuff that's out there. In 2025, 20% of computers said heavy AI use would decrease trust in a favorite brand. In 2026, that number jumped to 40% of people. If they're using heavy AI, they'll begin to distrust that. So start talking about humanity, putting humans in the loop when it comes to using AI. And then only 14% say heavy AI use would make them trust a brand more. So everyone's in here, and everyone that comes and watches me talk or has conversations about AI, they're all like, how do I implement AI? How do I implement AI? How do I implement AI into my organization? What do I do? But the truth is if depending on how you implement it, you could actually reduce your footprint that's out there. How many people see AI slop, right? AI slop, marketing ads over and over and over again. You can look at them and you're like, I can tell that that was made by ChatGPT. Although ChatGPT 2.0 image is a little bit better than it was, it's not as, everyone can still tell that you're using AI to be able to do that. And the vast majority of people, including me, I just scroll right over it. I'm like, oh, you used AI to build that? I'm gonna move on to something else that I feel is actually real and versus not real. So I am actually a person, even though I work in AI, that adheres to this slide that I have here. So the window to build trust before your customers punish you is closing fast. Chapter 1, we're going to talk about the fraud economy. So we're going to talk about the dark side of AI fraud and a couple of little cyber folks that goes in here into this. The FBI has been around for fraud-related online crimes for 26 years. In April of this year, they created a new crime category called AI-related. In that thing, there's 22,000 complaints that have been filed and nearly $900 million attributed to loss as a result of AI. So just think about that, 22,000 complaints in a year of time frame. So they started tracking it before they actually built the thing, because you got to do some data analysis before you build something that works. But that's one of the things that FBI is looking at. So from 2019 to 2026, March of 2026, $2.19 billion has been seen as a result of deepfake fraud. $1.65 billion of that was just lost in 2025. So you got 2019 to 2026, $1.65 billion are lost in 2025. That's a big number when we start looking at trust in AI. So
is that a global number?
It is a global number. So anyway, some of you may have heard of this, maybe not heard of this. This is an example where one phone call cost a company $25.6 million because of a deep fake. So one of the finance employees joined a call with what appeared to be the CFO and a bunch of colleagues. He was instructed to make the 15 wire transfers. He did it, and every single person on that call was a deep fake except for him. And they transferred $25.6 million. This was last year. So imagine how much further things have gotten this year. Everyone's probably seen the explosions. We've got Fable 5 out now. ChatGPT 5.6 is probably releasing within the next couple of hours. Has it? Anyone know? I haven't looked at the news yet. So I know it's supposed to release today. So yeah, all of this stuff is coming out when it comes to deep fakes. The vast majority of the people in this room you're small businesses. You're not Fortune 500, right? We're small businesses, medium-sized businesses in there. And the truth of the matter is you are the target. You're a lot easier to get a hold of. You're a lot easier to make things happen with because you don't have fraud teams. You don't have security teams. You don't have necessarily all of the training and resources available to you that some of these Fortune 500 companies do. I came from one, many years ago, and I also came from the military, so I'm familiar with what they have. And here's the facts. This is going to be very stats heavy in the very first part of this, so just to get us moving along. Gartner, Gartner's like one of the main technology sources for information, stated that 62% of cybersecurity leaders have experienced a deep fake attack in the last 12 months. That's a big number, especially I'm a cybersecurity leader, right? And even right now, my own staff gets emails. Jason messaged me, he's like, I don't think this is you. Asking for something, I don't remember what I was asking for, but yeah, it happens all the time. And as AI continues to accelerate, you run into issues where it's getting more and more real. I'm going to talk about that again here in a second. The average loss right now is per AI fraud incident is $280K, survivable at $500 million in revenue, but probably not so much at $5 million. $280K gone as an average cost for a small business that could be, your payroll for an entire year. I'm sure everyone in this room, including myself, even though I work in cyber and I work in artificial intelligence and IT and digital transformation, the top concern when it comes to business leaders should be whether or not something's real or not real. Here's some of the things that are on the menu for deepfakes when it comes to what AI can do. Deepfake executive wire fraud. We just talked about that one, $25.6 million. Deepfake job candidates. I know we have candidates, we have people that we work with in different parts of the world at this point. One of the biggest things that we see, or not even we see, we actually have a recruiting company that we work with too, but when they're interviewing candidates, they're not real. They're not real people. They're paid actors by North Korea or China or something like that then create an AI avatar of the person and actually go through and ask questions. So I'll give you a framework here in a minute to counteract some of that stuff. Cloned websites is another thing. We've been dealing with that for 30 years. That's not new. But now that we have AI that has come around, it has made it significantly easier. Like the ability to create a website can be done in 5 minutes or less using any one of a number of tools and then deployed to the internet in 10. And then you can use that as a fake website. The last one is just emotionally intelligent scam bots. These are bots that are running 24/7. They can be in Discord, they can be in Teams, they can be in all of these places that you actually have conversations with people and you feel like you're actually talking to a real person, but what they are doing is they are basically getting into your head, making you feel a certain way, and then requesting information out of you. So that is part of the downside of AI. AI-enabled scams generate roughly 4.5 times more revenue per operation than ever. So what does that mean for cyber-related issues? It's going to increase. We're already at like $12 trillion a year or something in cyber-related crime, I think is what we are at this year. When it comes to that level of stuff, the old defense kind of stopped working. We used to look at the email and we'd be like, oh, this isn't a way somebody would normally write an email, right? You would go through and be like, oh, a word is misspelled. These little things that you kind of notice. So the subject is weird or something like that. Now, the emails that you're getting, because everyone is using like ChatGPT, all of that stuff, to be able to write emails now. Like we all do it because it's easy. We've learned that we can take a thought, an outline in our head, we can run it through an AI prompt, and it's going to organize that thought in a way that makes sense. We can even have it listen to our own voice and then send it in our own voice versus having to go through and spend 15 minutes trying to figure out how to take an aggressive email and make it nice. The tools powering these attacks are free. They require no technical expertise whatsoever anymore, and they can be used completely anonymously by design. Like the very thing that we in cyber and technology is privacy in certain aspects. Scale that into the actual problem. Okay, so now that I've scared everyone, what can you do about it? Yeah, what can you do about it? So Monday morning defense. Basic things that you can kind of do to help it out. I would take a picture of this screen. One of the things that we do, and I teach all the time, is have a passphrase that you just know. Obviously don't put it in Teams. Actually have a one-on-one connection with somebody. Talk to them on the phone. I know I just had a talk the other day. I was in Virginia at a retirement talking, and being on the phone is aggressive now, but actually pick up the phone and call someone and give them the passphrase of what you're looking at. Call back. If you get an inbound call them back. Verify that they are who they say they are. The call, although that is getting more and more advantageous, it's still super easy for you to be able to do. You be the one to initiate the call with the people that you're looking at. So if you're doing those job candidate interviews, those things, you make the call, not let them call you. Or different ways that you can counteract that. Dual approval. I think anyone in small business, generally speaking, have probably this in place already. But dual approval for different things after certain dollar amounts, after certain things that have to occur, require 2 approvers. So you're always thinking of that. Deep fake alert. Screen new hires in media. Verify who they are. Everyone in here has some sort of HR department. You can get on social media and verify who they are as a person, or you can have a service do that. There are services that will actually go out and verify candidates before you do that. And then human verify, confirm the person, not the channel. Get them on the phone, meet them in person. All of these things that COVID kind of taught us, it's okay to do all these things over Teams or Zoom or all of that stuff, has led in a way to the very thing that we're dealing with right now. So these are just 5 basic things that you can do, and this will reduce your risk just significantly. Okay, so part 2 is when your own AI betrays you. So the threat is not always only external. The costliest failures of 2025 were self-inflicted. So I talked about a few of these the last time we were in here. And I'm gonna give you some updates on some of the things that have happened. So these are AI implementations that didn't quite work out the way that they were supposed to be able to work out. Commonwealth Bank of Australia replaced 45-person call center with AI voice bots. Sounds right. How many people have tried to get on the phone with their bank and probably cursed it out a few times trying to get a hold of somebody? The AI couldn't handle the call volume. Managers ended up answering the call, and I hired everyone back. Last time I talked a little bit about Klarna. I've talked a little bit about other things. Mario and I were looking at something last week when we were doing some preparation for another talk I was doing, where Ford had laid off 350 of its quality engineers in lieu of a video AI system to check quality on vehicles that were coming out. Guess what? They hired them all back. So people are trying to put the cart before the horse a lot of times when it goes in there. Last time we talked about Air Canada and some of the issues that Air Canada did with their chatbot on their website. This year, a precedent has been set that your chatbot is a legal entity for you and represents you. So even if you have a wrapper, when I say wrapper, like when we talk about AI tools, you're only using like the same 4 or 5 tools. All right, you're using ChatGPT wrapped in an API wrapped from ChatGPT, wrapped from Claude, wrapped from Grok, DeepSeek. Like all the folks are just taking these tools, they're putting a fancy, what's known as a user interface in front of that tool and APIing in with a clever prompt, and then they're saying that's state-of-the-art AI. Now there are companies out there that are doing more than that, but those are few and far between, and there are companies you probably never heard of. So what that...
Some of those AI tools then are essentially like a middleman.
That's all they are. I'd say 95% of them. Like even Lovable's a Claude wrapper, and I think at one point in time it was a ChatGPT wrapper. And then now you're getting into multi-agent orchestration wrappers, where you have one agent that kind of sits on top, and then it goes and queries the other tools through API and do that. That's why you have when you use an AI tool, you have all these credits. So you're basically paying for their API into Claude on top of the monthly fee that you're paying for that already. So that's over 90% of your AI tools are based off of that. So now what you've done in this particular case, when it comes to AI, in most business operations, like over the course of the last, 5,000 years or so, we've always wanted to be kind of in control of our own operation, right? We wanted to be in control of what our employees are doing, how they're making different decisions and things like that, at least as well as we possibly could. But in this particular case, as with Air Canada, they gave that control over to an entity that they couldn't control. They can't do anything with that API. That API, and it changes. We just talked about it. ChatGPT 5.6 is probably releasing during this, like our conversation here. Everyone that has gone through and built a tool that wants to now implement ChatGPT 5.6 as an API call back into their system now has to go through and adjust, because that model is no longer the same as the previous model it was before. So that's why when you go into some of these tools, like they just stop working all of a sudden and you're not exactly sure why, or they get dumber, you feel like. I know I use Claude, that's my go-to. I feel like right before there's gonna be a new Claude update, like the level of quality of output of that system just diminishes to like just level of stupid. More than 42% of companies scrapped most of their AI projects in 2025. And we're going to get into a slide about agentic AI and agentic slop here in just a couple of minutes. And that more than doubled in the last 12 months, up 17% from the year before. The failure rate exploded while AI models got dramatically better. So in 1 year, we went from 17% to 42%, and obviously we're still in 2026, so we don't know what that number is going to be this year. But the adoption rate is increasing, but the success rate is decreasing when it comes to AI, and there's a reason for that. The problem itself is not AI. AI is very capable, 100% without a doubt. The problem is process. And I'll talk about this at the end of the slide, the end of the presentation a little bit, and I talked about this a lot in my last presentation. The problem is process. Everyone in here has some sort of standard operating procedure that they run their businesses off of, or 100 or 1,000 of them. All of those all those SOPs were designed around humans. They were designed around a finite number of hours available by a particular human in a particular time. So you take all of that, you throw that into an AI 24/7, and by the way, all of your processes, no matter how good your SOPs are documented, are not documented. because you put humans in there, because we are human. We change things. You know, some people you may say, hold this in your right hand. Some people are left-handed. Little things like that change the way it is. So the problem is actually the process, or basically the absence of a process when it comes to implementing some of these AI solutions. Customers are keeping score when it comes to this. 47% punish a brand, canceled, switched, or reduced spend over AI data concerns in the last 6 months. I actually liked Slack at one point in time. And then Slack literally said they weren't using AI, or they weren't using all of our chats to train their models that they have. And they said, psych, we did. Yep, sorry, not sorry. So that's what these companies are doing to get access to your data. Because, you know, basically ChatGPT, Claude, and these other wrappers, or these frontier models have basically consumed the internet. You know, we laugh all the time in the world of AI. We're like, oh yeah, we're using ChatGPT that was trained on Reddit. I mean, that's where we're getting our information from. Have you ever done like a search, like an advanced search from ChatGPT? What's the very first like 3 things that comes up? Reddit is always on that list. So we're taking non-scholarly kind of opinions and we're calling it intelligent, which is something that none of us would ever do. Like, we may go to Reddit to like try and figure something out, but we're not going to go to Reddit as our single source of information to make a decision. You know, we're going to use other sources besides that one. We're not going to go to Wikipedia. We're not going to go to some of these other ones that are out there. 35% of those companies took multiple actions, and then 240,000 purchase decisions are made based off of whether or not they trust the AI that's actually in there. And this is State of Digital Trust. This was 11,000 consumers across 7 markets that this study was done.
There's no way to tell the AI that you're using, don't use these sources.
There is a way.
Okay, so
Yep.
in the settings you can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so if you're doing, I think on the next one, I'm going to get into a little bit more detail on how to do markdown files and things like that. We'll get into a little bit more technical aspects of what you can do to implement AI. And then we're also launching an institute where we're going to actually talk about that in even more detail on how to do that stuff. But when you go and you do prompting, initially, especially if you're building an application, you can tell the AI to do whatever it is that you want it to do initially. So we copy prompts and then we paste prompts in. Even when we're using stuff for vibe coding, like we use Claude Code primarily, but our Claude.md file is probably 30 pages long of different things that we want the system to do. The average person's prompt is like, a paragraph. So it's just the difference of like getting hyper specific on what you want it to do so you can control the output of it and reduce the hallucination rate. But that is one particular instance of what, if we're going to code an enterprise platform, like we got to make sure that we're meeting SOC 2 or meeting some sort of compliance guideline or something like that. So that's how you would do it if you're trying to hone in on something in particular. The other way to do it is use smaller models. And we could talk about that offline too. So the root cause hasn't changed in all of these failures. Everyone just skipped straight to automated. They just skipped straight to AI. Like the powers that be, Google, Microsoft, and I've got friends in both of those groups of people. I'm part of Anthropic's cyber verification program. I'm a partner with them, so like I obviously enjoy AI. Otherwise, I wouldn't be up here talking about this, trying to keep people safe. People just jump straight to it when it comes to that. We have our own proprietary method that we use called Mosaic, and we call it, it's over there, mapped, optimized, and systemized. What's ends up happening in these failures that are going on and the trust that's been degraded is they automated before they understood, they deployed before they designed, and they trusted before they verified. Anyone remember Reagan politics? Trust but verify? Yep, so same kind of concept here when it comes to using artificial intelligence. Trust it, but verify it. Once again, everyone is looking at AI. I did a talk yesterday about people fearing AI, like how do you lead in the age of AI? So dealing with fears associated with people thinking that they're going to lose their job to this. AI is just a tool. And if you look at it in the frame of reference as being a tool, you can make it do anything that you want it to do. Completely the opposite of what social media would have you believe. Sequence matters as much as the technology. We don't build buildings without building the foundation first. If the foundation cracks, the whole building crumbles, or it gets really expensive to fix the foundation. So why are companies printing returns while the majority report nothing? So there is a gap, and it is actually somewhat explainable. Here's the honest headline that people aren't actually reading that's out there. 56% of CEOs report 0 financial returns from AI in the last 12 months. No revenue increase, no cost reduction, nothing. So these are big companies. We'll get to SMBs because their numbers are significantly better than that. And then only 12% of the CEOs are actually reporting that they achieve both revenue increase and cost reduction simultaneously from their AI investments. And you also have to look at AI as being an investment, because you're going to, if you do it right, you're going to change a lot. You're going to change your operations. You're going to change the way you do logistics. You're going to change the way that you interact with customers. You're going to change a lot of different things, and it's going to make it faster. It's going to make it more efficient. It's going to make it profitable, but there's a way to do that, and you have to be aware of what you're trying to bring into the organization to be able to make that work. So this is PwC 2026 Global CEO Survey, 4,500 CEOs across 95 countries. I've got a friend of mine that works for PwC. He's in charge of basically managed security services for the entire consultancy. And he validated all of this information too from what they're seeing on the AI side. So here's what the 12% do differently. And now we get to start getting into the actual good news. It's embedded in their systems, not bolted on. You're not saying, hey, I'm gonna go implement this AI tool because it looks cool. Here's a bolt on, here's a, you see them all the time. Just think about it. I can't think of specific instances right now, but if you get online and you look at like Lovable, or you look at or Replit, or if you look at even QuickBooks has this whole thing for its AI agents agentic system that it's using, and any one of these other tools, you throw a rock and it's AI marketing all day long, bolt-ons. CEOs that are reporting the actual wins are people that are embedding it in. So they're kind of building it around their operations and building it into their operations, not necessarily into just a tool that they can buy. And then companies that actually do embedding, they actually do experience higher profit margins. So 4% higher profit margins than those that did not. And this is how they're actually doing it. So once again, everyone kind of goes in there and they're like, oh, we need to implement AI into everything that we're doing in the business because that's what the social media gurus are saying to do. The statistics showed a drastically different story, but the leading companies are finding specific things inside of their organization that they should implement AI into, not on top of. So that's the biggest difference. So if you look at all of these folks, they're like, yeah, implement AI, implement AI, implement AI. Everyone else that's not succeeding in this, they're trying to do it to everything. They're trying to do it to their finance departments. They're trying to do it to their HR departments. They're trying to do it to, operations, logistics, you name it. And they're running into issues when it comes to that. Same thing when it comes to business and niching and things like that. Focusing into something that's a little bit more narrow tends to yield greater results. So pick fewer targets and then actually throw AI at that versus throw AI in a shotgun pattern to everything that's in your business. Figure out something that you want to go after. And then on top of that, usually that's going to be the one thing that you feel in your business needs the most improvement. And just by going through that process, you're going to improve it anyway, even without AI. So, small business bright spot. This is why we're all here. For those who have successfully implemented AI into their business, you get a 91% revenue boost. Small businesses say that. Salesforce is one of the primary tractors. Now, whether or not that is accurate or not accurate, you can take Salesforce as a source with a grain of salt because I'm sure there's some marketing in there. But if the reason why I agree with this stat just in general comes down to agility. Smaller businesses tend to be more agile than larger businesses. If you're working in a large corporation, Your CEO is answering to a board, and even the smaller organizations, you may answer to a board depending. Answering the board, answering to shareholders, answering to all of the different things, and then they're being forced based off of, now you've got 1,000 people that are all saying AI, 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 and they're just like, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? In a smaller business, the ability to be able to be intentional about something actually will increase to greater success. Grew workforce, the vast majority of folks that, and this is another statistic, I think I pulled that slide out of here, but the folks that have actually been successful in implementing AI actually grew their workforce and didn't reduce their workforce. Think of, we'll go big, right? Facebook, everyone's heard 18,000 layoffs. There's all kinds of stuff all over social media about how AI is like killing people's jobs, it's taking them away. They're basically coding themselves out of a job. So Facebook, $1.5 trillion company. NVIDIA can't keep enough engineers, can't keep enough people, and they're building AI models inside of their data centers too, and they're hiring 3,000 to 5,000 people a year. So which one is it? Are we losing people? Or are we gaining people? And what's funny is the 18,000 people that are leaving or getting fired out of these bigger companies, guess what they're doing? They're going out and they're starting AI companies where they go and they take the same ChatGPT wrappers, they start an AI company, and then they get it funded for 100 million, billion, whatever dollars to be able to go and do that. So growing small businesses have adopted some form of AI. Show of hands, how many people have used AI to help advance their business in here? At least in some case. Great. So y'all are part of this stat. Do you feel like it's helped you? Getting better? A lot? Kinda? Deciding? So we're looking at AI in two different lights. So from when we're looking at AI from like a Facebook type marketing, they have their own AI internal systems that were coded by their employees that then replace their jobs. That's where Facebook is sitting. NVIDIA is I think it's the biggest company on the planet right now. I think it's 4.6 trillion. Yeah, so NVIDIA, $4.6 trillion, they played the long game, right? They nearly went bankrupt like half a dozen times, like over the course of like the last 30 years. But they finally had a product that, is revolutionizing the world, essentially. But they keep hiring people to be able to do that. They're both in AI. Facebook is an AI company now, just in case you're wondering. From a privacy standpoint, I'm throwing this out there because I can't stand when privacy statements don't work the way that they should. I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, Instagram can now use your photos publicly and you're opted in automatically. So even if you're on a private thing or whatever, you have now opted in on Instagram for anyone to be able to use your photos inside of the Meta AI universe. You can opt out. We can figure out how to do that a little bit later, but all these companies are AI companies. They're taking your data. They're taking your information. Now, whether or not you agree with that or not is up to you. But I believe in letting people know what's going on there. So to answer your question, they're not using it for information. They're using it to run their business. It's completely different. At the level that we're talking about here, people use it to use it for information, to generate ideas, to do different things. When we're talking about an AI mature company, the ones that we work with and the ones that we build, like AI begins to help you run your business. It's a different thing altogether than just using it for knowledge. So trust dividend. Trust is not a value. It's actually something that goes on the balance sheet. Trust pays, literally. Everyone knows this. I mean, we've known this for years when it comes to the way that everyone's going for that 5-star review. Whether or not you're competing with the bots that are giving you 5-star reviews or giving some other company 5-star reviews, we're all competing for that certain level of trust when it comes out there. If you have more trust, you get more clients, just generally the case. In the AI world, if you have trust, people will pay for AI transparency just in general. Like, think about that. If you know something's being used by AI, you automatically can kind of deal with that in your brain, that something's being done. I've seen a lot of emails that have come out. This email was generated by AI. All right, now I know why it's crap. Or now I know why it's so good. Like one of the two, depending on how we look at it. The statistics state the average premium customers will voluntarily pay for AI transparency is 7%. So 7% greater margin than what you're presently having if you're using AI inside of your organization and you say that you have AI inside of your organization. 52% of consumers will pay more for AI transparency at an average premium of 7%. Among consumers aged 18 to 19, willingness to pay jumps to 67%. Transparency is not just good ethics, it's a pricing strategy with a measurable upside. So what consumers are demanding right now is they want AI labeled, right? Nobody believes all this AI slop, and there's a lot of global communities, including Global Council, where we're talking about how do you label something that's AI generated. If we know it, it helps us a little bit. What consumers are asking for right now is that 84% of consumers are asking that if your written content is generated by AI, you disclose that. People are going to find out anyway if you're doing that, as it is, because of all of the AI. There's AI is pattern recognition. So you can use AI to determine whether or not you used AI to write something. The next one is 91% want videos because, how many people have seen all the talking cat videos? And then images, 90%. So source here is Fractal 2026. The next thing is you're implementing AI into your organization, governance. So depending on the size of your organization and what you do, you're already sitting inside of some of these governance frameworks anyway. If you work with the government, you have to be NIST 800-171 or FedRAMP or something like that. If you work inside of healthcare, you have HIPAA that you have to think about, high trust. If you work inside of manufacturing, you've got ISO that you have to think about. There's all kinds of different governance frameworks that we do and that we throw onto different things. And we use those, generally speaking, as a method to get more clients and build trust. There are multiple frameworks out there that have come out that you can use and say, we've gone through this for our AI systems if you're using AI operations. A company is 3 times more likely if you're using AI inside of your company, if you have some sort of organizational structure that governs AI within your organization. You don't need to invent it. There's stuff out there. NIST AI Risk Management Framework, the EU AI Act, ISO, IEC 42001, and then the one that we built was the GRACE framework, and we actually take all of the different frameworks that are there, and we built one that kind of aggregates between all of them that's available and that's dynamic. And just kind of as a full disclosure, I'm the COO for the GRACE framework and what we did there, but it doesn't matter. Just do something if you're going to implement AI into your organization. So what every framework kind of boils down to is know what your AI touches, keep a human accountable, document your decisions, review before it reaches customers, and then reassess when things change. Almost every framework on everything, even HIPAA, SOC 2, doesn't matter, all kind of boils down to these same 5 principles when you're implementing stuff. And this goes down to just operations in general. So trust equation. Distrust is becoming more and more prevalent inside of people that are using AI inside of their organizations. You just have to tell them when you're using it. 7% premium available if you're telling them that you're using AI to do different things to be able to do that. I know even for one of our clients that we did, we said, hey, we're going to build we're going to use AI for you to have a conversation with, and they're excited about it. Just because we told them, we're using AI to be able to go and improve the different things that they're doing. They ask them questions, where's the data coming from, where it's being stored, how are you protecting my information, the basics, the same thing that we were talking about here, documenting your decision and review before it reaches customers. Be ready to answer those questions, but you'd be surprised how people want that. They want that level of efficiency that can come and effectiveness that come from AI. So The organizations that succeed will not be those with the most advanced models, but those who can improve accountability, transparency, and human oversight. All right, the profitable measures playbook. The idea, if you're going to put AI into a system, is what do you trust? We talked about different things that you can't trust and different ways to get that trust into there. Core trust, approved tools, pick a couple. Just, whatever it is that you're going to use, know what they are. Tell your employees those are the ones that they're going to use, and then that's it. You know the systems that you're using. I know the vast majority of people have probably approved ChatGPT at least at some point, Claude, those things. Have some sort of data rules. No PII or strategy, drafts and notes are okay. Go ahead. Personally identifiable information is PII. So names, social security numbers, date of birth, addresses, things like that. And yes, everyone's address in here is probably in AI because somebody else did it. That's why these rules are in existence now. And then human review gate. So if you're pushing something out to the customer, whether it's a marketing material, whether it's this, that, or the other thing, just have a human look over it. That's it. Yes, no, make a minor change here and there. Those are ways that you can build that trust in there, because AI slop is real, it's garbage, and if you automate that entire marketing process from beginning to end, as cool as it sounds and as easy as it sounds and as awesome as it could possibly be, all right, AI tends to shift over time. So the very tool that you use to be able to do that, like I said, with ChatGPT 5.6 releasing, Fable 5 releasing again last week, and Sonnet and all of the, Grok 4.5 released yesterday or the day before yesterday. All of these tools are now re-releasing. So now all of the tools that you've been using to do automated marketing with are going to change. So that means you have to go back in and figure out all of the rules that you've set up in place to be able to do that. So the way that you kind of counteract that is put humans talk to humans, let machines talk to machines. So if you're using a marketing material, figure out whether or not that's what the message that you're trying to deliver. Where's the profit hide? Customer response automation, handle the routine, elevate the rest. There's a whole process that you have for customer service that kind of comes in that doesn't necessarily have to be immediately human. So think of it this way, like if somebody calls in to have a conversation with you, is your CRM immediately surfacing everything that you need to know about that customer in real time? So when you're having the human to human conversation, they actually have all of that information ready in a summary. So you're not having to go through and read all of the different things that are going on. So this is just, customer response automation. You can even have it send like the first level of email. Hey, we received your ticket. And I know that's an automation that we're already doing, but you can throw a little AI twist on top of it, can make it a little bit more personalized. But yeah, that would be an example of customer response automation, and then also the pre-response to that. Do we have all the information that's available? So what does that system look like? Meeting intelligence, if you haven't, and I talked about this in the last thing, if you're not using some sort of meeting note taker, just do it. It's worth your time, saves time. We use Fireflies in our organization. It doesn't matter which one you use, just use one. Take the time, you'll learn, you'll start getting insights into different things that you haven't before. Proposal and content drafting, using AI to go through and take you to that 80% margin, either pre or post. It just kind of depends on what it is that you're doing. And then pricing optimization, use AI to figure out your prices. But there's a caveat to that. If everyone is using AI we've seen this, people are all using AI, and AI has a tendency to give you more than what it's actually worth. So just kind of be leery of that, because you might lose some customers of that. But so far, about roughly 97% of SMBs have used AI at some point in their time for pricing. But as with all things, get comparisons. Compare to AI models. Go to Claude, go to ChatGPT, and go to Grok and ask the same question. You're going to get 3 different results, which is interesting, right? And kind of scary, because we as humans, we could all sit in here, we could actually have 3 different sources of information and come to the same result. AI, on the other hand, 3 different sources of information trained 3 different ways, you get 3 different results. So these are some other sequencing rules. Crawl, generative AI, everyone in here is using generative AI. So crawl is, most people at the SMB level are all operating in this crawl category: draft, summaries, responses, trust requirements, the human review gates, going through all of that stuff. Your walk is predictive AI, forecasting, churn detection, lead scoring, those types of things. Anyone use a CRM like HubSpot, Salesforce, something like that? So they have some of these tools that are already built in, and they use AI to kind of help you with that. So that's like a form of forecasting and those types of things. And predictive AI is fascinating. It's a massive field. We implemented an AI system about 2 years ago for an organization that allowed them to determine when to change their marketing down to the day in every single region, because we used an AI predictive algorithm and NOAA data, so NOAA's weather patterns, and told them exactly based off of their entire customer history for 10 years, NOAA patterns, and their region, and took all of that information, run it through a predictive algorithm, and told by region when to change their marketing dates. Like, when do they need to go and do this based off of all of that information that they had available to them. So fascinating world of that. And that, you can kind of do that in Excel in certain aspects. But when you're aggregating, I think we had 10 million data points that we're running into, you need something a little bit more powerful than Excel to be able to draw those conclusions. And then the last one right now is agentic AI. And then you've got orchestration, you've got, there's all kinds of other things on the agentic AI side. So systems that monitor, decide, and act. The biggest word is act on your whatever matrix that you gave it. So the question that you asked earlier, that's where, agentic systems can come in. You can build an agent that acts exactly in the parameters that you want it to be able to act. Yeah, and that's already happening now. OpenClaw in a way. Now OpenClaw is like Claude has actually just built that all into its own platform, essentially. So anyway, three different things. Agentic is our present state. We've got a few more states that we're going to hit coming up for, but we're going to sit in this agentic state probably for a little while until the AGI systems come up. With all the things that I see in the world of AI, the idea behind agents is going to actually make it so much easier to kind of run things in a smaller capacity. ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, they're all these massive platforms, 1 trillion parameters. Now, if you're running a coaching business, right? So if you're running a coaching business, do you need to know how this tablecloth is dyed? No, you don't need to. So you, in the very near future, are going to be able to design agentic systems with local AI running on your phone, running on your device, that is very particular to what you do. That's what we do. Like, we can design those systems right now to be able to do that. But the point is you go to Fable 5 and it knows how to dye this tablecloth, but it may not know how to advance a business all the way through. It may be in generalist, but maybe not specifically. So the future of AI in certain aspects, we're going to have AGI, we're going to have, the superintelligence and Skynet and all the other things that, people are afraid of that are coming out. But if you're trying to really kind of hone in on something, make it specific, no different than what all the there's multiple organizations that do different things in here. AI agents are going to be that for your business. And we're already in that stage right now. All right, how to evaluate any AI opportunity. So 5 questions that you can ask when you're looking at trying to evaluate whether or not you want to go into an AI or build an AI system, build an AI business, or something like that. Can you name the problem? This also applies to your business too. Like, when it comes to whether or not you're looking for an opportunity to go into AI, or you're looking for an opportunity to improve your business. So whenever you're going into your business and you're trying to figure out where you want to implement AI, what's the problem? Figure that out first. Don't just implement AI because someone said to implement AI. Are you going in vertical in what it is that you're doing? Or are you going generic? Or, maybe are you going right directly into what it is that you're doing in your organization? Or are you focusing on HR inside of your organization? Because that's kind of a more generic thing. that everyone has to deal with. And there might even be a tool out there for that that does something that's similar to what you're doing. Or you can use Cloud Code or do something, or that's what we do. We can build stuff for that. What's the moat or wrapper? What survives when the underlying AI improves for everyone simultaneously? This question goes more for if you're trying to break into AI and build a tool and take it to market. Unit economies at scale. Does each customer cost more in compute than they pay you? So when you're implementing AI into your organization, you got to think about cost. You got to think about those API costs. You got to think about the cost of the tool that you're trying to do. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Now I think everyone in the SMB and mid-market world, everything that we do is kind of like an analysis against cost. So same thing here when you're trying to implement AI. And is it trust ready? Whatever you're going to do to implement AI that might be customer facing, did you make it trustworthy? The graveyard. So what fails these 5 questions? It's just a pure wrapper, no moat, race to the bottom on price, no defensible position. So if you're trying to become, maybe you're trying to be an AI first company, you got to make sure that you have some of those things that are defensible. Don't make it just a pure wrapper like we said before, all of these tools that are available. Our AI does this trading schemes. FBI is looking at 632 million in AI attributed investment fraud schemes that are going on out there. So these are people that have legitimately said they've got this tool, it's going to be great, they wrapped it around, they made it look really good, and they take your money and leave. And then undifferentiated AI agent startups. Roughly 40% of the agents, these agentic systems, are going to be gone within 6 months of now. So, and that's Gartner. Gartner, they're basically the driver of all of this technology stuff. So crazy, right? Why is it going to be gone? Because everyone's trying to be a generalist. And if everyone's trying to be a generalist inside of agentic AI systems, nobody wins, essentially. So same thing I was just talking about before, 1.5 trillion parameter models, or 1 trillion parameter models actually does no one any good. So you have to be able to find the model that is able to do the coaching versus determine what color dye I need to use to make this tablecloth work. So being more specific inside of those. Because right now, almost all of the agentic AI projects, they're all wrapped around these big models. That's it. That's where the headache is. And then, as we learned on what was it? I think it was June 12th with Fable 5 and Anthropic. Now we've got the government, which is starting to work on regulation of these types of things. So you may go through and you may build like the best thing ever, and then somebody decides to regulate the very technology that you used to build that on, and your entire business just crumbles underneath it. So that's why it's important to not necessarily do that. You have to figure out a way to run these organizations yourself. And I talked about this in the last thing, and I'll probably talk about it again. But AI models is probably a race to the bottom, which is why everyone's trying to charge so much now. Because just like the internet back in the 80s, just like our internet access used to pay, think of, I'm going to date myself probably. So a T1 or a T3 connection for like a major system would cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to be able to access the internet at those speeds. Now you can get, I was just, Comcast is one of our partners, and I was talking with them. They have with their main office out of Atlanta, and they were offering me, a terabyte per second of data. Obviously we don't need that, but they have data centers and things like that. So the idea of the internet availability is going to decrease. We've got Starlink. We've got all of these different things that are coming out there. So the internet has become commoditized. A phone has become commoditized. Anything that the general population itself needs will become commoditized. AI is going to probably go by the same pathway. So contenders, if you're looking to build something in the world of AI, build a vertical agent, build AI cost optimization services. Are you using the AI properly. Compliance documentation. People spend $50K to $200K to go in and document compliance, especially as AI compliance is beginning to be adopted worldwide. And then build automation workflows, which is kind of what we do. Very boring work, but at the end of it, your entire company all runs off a workflow, runs off a SOP, runs off of a process. How do you automate some of those processes?
You're saying that AI could build your workflow?
Yes, absolutely.
So you feed it like we have an as-is flowchart, and say we want you to give us something out of that. AIs can do that for you.
In its present state. Now you have to decide what you want the outcome to be. So and maybe I'll talk about this afterwards just to get through the thing, but if you're looking to use AI, the biggest thing that you as humans, as all of us need to do is critical think. What is the outcome? What is the thing that you're trying to achieve? So many of these AI tools that are there, they're like, oh, this is a cool tool, but there was no use case behind it to be able to do that. So if you're going to go and put an as-is state into some sort of model or system to be able to do that, what is it that you're trying to achieve as a result of putting that into the model itself to be able to do that? And then be specific. And even you can even use AI to help you like guide that process that's in there. But the number one, I talk about this all over the place, the number one thing that humans are going to be great for in the world of AI is our brains. Like we have to be able to critically think and figure out the solution. That we don't have to figure out the solution, but we have to figure out the problem and what we want the outcome to be. AI is going to be able to do everything in between. To be able to do that. And sometimes they're going to be able to do the problem, sometimes they're going to be able to figure out the outcome and help you guide that stuff. But we ultimately will reside with us for now. And it should reside with us for now. We're taking our own medicine in certain aspects, and we're going to niche down all the way into aerospace. I've got a ton of experience in aerospace, so I'm doing two different things here. We're niching down in the Morevolved side into the aerospace side. We're going to stick with the SMBs and continue to help all of the different small businesses and do these types of things, help them expand, help them grow into this side in our local communities that we have out here. But greaterly, we're going to go into aerospace because for the same reason, that vertical makes more sense. Even from what we're doing. So ask yourself these 5 questions, and this presentation will be available, plus it'll be on YouTube. The point is, hype fails the framework, focus passes it. If you believe all of the different hype that you're hearing around AI, you're gonna be stuck. And I think that's why some of us are here, why we're having these conversations, why we're looking at this. We're like, you keep getting pushed, AI. But as you can see, 95% of them are failing. 56% of the CEOs say that they've seen no revenue. But yet because we're all on social media, we're all on the internet, we've all got friends, we've all got these pushes that are saying, hey, implement. And you should implement AI, but do it the right way. Like, take the time, understand what it is that you want to actually automate, and don't just automate for the sake of automation. The way that we do it, we have over here, we call it the mosaic methodology, mapped. So understand what your process is before you do anything. You have to understand it. You have to understand exactly what you're doing. Before you do that, fix your process. Make sure it's ready for some sort of automation. Because when you map it out, I like somebody that says as is state, because Lean Six Sigma black belt, it's something I've done a lot of over the years. You have to optimize that before you do it. And then once you optimize it, then you have to systemize it, because AI will not work without systems. Like, you have to have some sort of systems, workflow, right? One of the things that we were talking about, you have to systemize that entire process. And then after that, only then should you automate it. Then you can throw AI on it, but start with automation first before you start with artificial intelligence. So there is a difference between the two. Automation may feel like artificial intelligence, but it's just doing something automatically. Artificial intelligence is when it's deciding, it's acting, and it's doing on your behalf without you. And then the last two that we do is integrate. So after you've taken this whole part of your system, integrate it with the other stuff. Because if you have one system that's fully optimized for artificial intelligence running 24/7, if anyone in here has heard of a theory of constraints and this idea that everything else will then subordinate to that particular task. So if you have one system that's running 24/7 and everything else is running 8x5, what's going to happen to your systems? Everything's going to bottle up right here, right? So once you get through that, then you can start integrating it into the other systems. You do it slowly. And then at the end, you start connecting it. And then we call this evolution. You evolve. The process changes. Like once you get through all of that, you'll have to go back and you'll have to figure out, okay, so this is great. We're getting revenue, our ROI, we've saved money, we've done these things in this particular area. Now, where is it that we need to go from there? So your trust is built in mapping what it is that you're doing, optimizing it, and then systemizing it. And then your profit finally shows up in automation, AI, or automation, integration, and connection. We have some cards over here about the Intelligent System Score. This is a free, 100% free system. We used AI to basically build this out, and you can take it, and it will tell you how your operations are doing, where you can do. And there's free stuff in there for improvement, and then you'll get a free consultation with one of us where we'll actually go over what is going on inside of the ISS. The next thing that we have is in early August, we are going to be launching the Morevolved Institute. Remember how I said I want to continue to help and work with small businesses? We want to continue to do more of these talks, but maybe more in a more of a classroom setting, in a facilitation setting, either online. So we'll be launching the Morevolved Institute sometime in August. If you're interested, you can sign up there. And then we'll have a lot more of this type of stuff and getting more into the details that I know you were asking about, and I know you were asking about earlier, where how do we use AI to be more successful in our businesses, and we actually get down in the nit and gritty rather than terrifying everyone with some of the AI fraud stuff that we talked about. This will be an actual class. It'll be so this will be a 6-week class that we'll put on. And the very first class, we're going to do it all in person too. We'll have obviously audio video for people that can't attend, or a Zoom call or something like that. But we're going to walk through how to do some of these implementation steps inside of an organization, rather than there's just a lot of information that we're doing. We were talking about different terms and things like that. And you hear about all these terms online, and it's just this massive amount of information. But what do we do with that information? And that's the purpose of what we're doing this for, is to aggregate a way to bring everyone to that level to be able to implement. In 2027, on February 11th and 12th, over at the Kipton Sawyer, where the Kings stay when they're in town, we're putting on an AI conference, and we're going to bring in some people that are also experts in business and things like that are going to be able to, we're going to give you a couple of days of AI implementation and those things. Maybe some will be at a higher level than where I am, and some will be at a lower level of this class, depending on where it is. So. Practical sessions, interactive workshops, peer insights, and then breakout discussions that we're going to be having. So, we've got we're finalizing some sponsors and vendors, and then some speakers. And then if you're interested, you can reach out to Kaylani. Some of you may know her. I know a few of you do. You can reach out to Kaylani, and she'll get you on that list for us to be able to go and do that. So. Anyway, this is how we can stay connected. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. On YouTube, this session, give us a couple of weeks and we'll have it available on our YouTube channel. It's brand new. And then the last one that we did is also on there. We go in a different direction. Than each one of these is definitely a different direction than this particular one. This one is more about trust. Like I said, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, I'll be around.
And one of the things I wanted to build for our company is interfacing AI like a chatbot, because we've got years of experience of documents and just if we could do a brain dump and have that be the source of the AI, then when someone calls and we can have a brand new person, and they can literally type the question that user's, caller, and they don't have to go bug Chris or someone or Ryan. It'll answer it right there.
That's literally what we do. That's our business.
Okay.
So feel free to give us a call, and you can give Jason a call. We'll be more than happy to do that, because that's what we do for organizations, is we figure out ways within your operations that make the most sense, what data to put in there, because not all data is good data. I think that's a big misnomer when it comes to data architecture and designing AI systems. Is, you may have 30 years worth of data. I don't know how long you've been in business for, but okay, so you may have 18 years worth of data, and all of that data may have been good 18 years ago, but it may not be relevant today. So when you go through and you start building something like that, you have to go through a data cleaning cycle, because AI gets expensive too. Like, if you're trying to pull all of the information that you have, like those resources that you had 18 years ago are not going to apply to what you're doing today, and you'll have to make that determination. Whatever database system that you're using, whatever it is that you're doing, and the opposite is also true. In the ones that I have worked on, and I've done over 100 of these transformation projects over the last 25 years in my career in various places and things like that. And the number one thing I've actually seen is you want to make a change, but you actually don't have the data that was actually needed to go and make that change. So now you have to go and figure out, okay, I got to collect data for the next 30, 60, 90 days so we can actually have a focal point to be able to make the change that we want to change. Now, you can hit 80%, but to get it to 100% or 90%, you'll have to go and figure out like what those parameters are. So data architecture is a big deal. Data cleansing is a big deal when it comes to building out a system like what you're talking about there. And then understanding what you're trying to build is essentially what's known as a RAG, retrieval augmented generation, which is a type of an AI based off of a special type of database that uses AI to then encode that stuff and then uses AI to then retrieve that stuff out of there. So every single thing that you put in there becomes, something of the collective whole. So if you've got thousands of documents, you may want to go through there and decide at that point in time which ones you want and which ones you don't want inside of there. So it's an actual process before you go through and do that. But those are all different things that you can go through and do to make that process make sense. And then when you get done with that, then your AI system is actually intelligent and not just a bolt-on ChatGPT wrapper that we were talking about earlier. Because you can do that even with Claude right now. You can take all of your documents, you can throw them in, a project, have it read through it, and pull all the information. That's all there. The capability is already available. But whether or not that makes sense for your organization is the part that you have to figure out. And then what makes sense for your operation? And you're in construction, you're in sales, or you're in construction, you're in productization. You've got a lot of different things. I'm sure you have compliance requirements for HIPAA in certain aspects. I'm sure you hit like different wickets of different things you have to do. Now you have to take all of that stuff and determine whether or not any of that information actually belongs in an AI system or not. So there's a lot that goes into that.